Hello, and welcome back. Today we'll be discussing episode number 55 of the Play Dicely campaign, Mummy? Sorry. So this session picks up just after the party has planted another one of those magical beans, and they've planted it in the nearby Tuck Forest just behind their keep. And after planting the bean, a pyramid made out of roots and brambles forms and grows up from the ground. Party enters the pyramid cautiously after Nell had detected undead entities within. At the far end of the pyramid from where they entered, they find this strange bush-like cocoon of rotting vegetation, and from it springs a mummy druid. This mummy has mushrooms and fungus and mold growing about it, and it's got this bark that covers their skin and this crown mushroom that hides their eyes. But at first it seems to have an interest in talking, and asks the party when it is and what's happening in the world, until a point where things begin to shift and it seems to begin to feel threatening, where it wants to meet with the current druids that are still alive, and clearly wants to have some violent words with them. At this point, Azaria activates their starry form and begins initiative. And frankly, it's a pretty one-sided fight, honestly. Like, they really pummel this mummy into the ground, along with the blighted woodwoads and the several poisonous spiders, the vegapygmy, the vine blight. There are quite a few creatures in this pyramid that summon forth once the combat starts, but the party seems to handle undead very well. After this encounter, the pyramid slowly begins to decompose and fall apart, but not before the party. First thing, they melt the heart of the mummy with holy water, ensuring that it remains dead. Then also finding this obsidian statue worth a lot of money in the cocoon that it had emerged from, as well as a magical rod that it used in the combat to absorb a guiding bolt that Drac had cast at it. A rod of absorption. With what ended up being quite the profitable bean for the party, and selling the obsidian statue, the party begins to make their preparations to teleport out to the Wildeglen. Charity arrives at the keep, ready to teleport the Seekers out to the Wildeglen on the east coast. But before they do that, Elwyn gets to have a word with Valoon and leaves him with a sending scroll just in case anything should happen. And as well as leaving the keep with the sending stone that can get in touch with the Learned Circle. The one that they'd used previous to the 3-call version that they now have. And then Nell and Nivara also come out and join the rest of the party, and Nivara, though sleepy and groggy, wants to be there to say goodbye before the party all heads out on what is likely to be another dangerous portion of their adventure. Once they're all prepared, Grand Arcanist Charity Cozybug casts the teleport spell, and we do a live teleport roll. Thankfully for the party, she was quite familiar with the destination that they were heading to. And they appear in the ruins of the Wildeglen city. A quick look around revealed that there was nothing living in the city. There were no people. There was just this thick fog that seemed pretty persistent within the city. Everywhere the party looked, nobody was alive. He was there. Charity also expresses her confusion about the situation, as a community of elves was supposedly had made their way to Wildeglen years ago, and they should have definitely had themselves set up and had a thriving community here at this point. As Elwyn prepares a teleportation circle in order to get Charity back to Brill Bar, she takes the opportunity to have a one-on-one with Charity and thanks her for the cloak, and essentially setting her up for a meeting with the Arquette. It really helped her get out of a dark space and a slump that she'd been in for a while, and is finding herself much more inspired. On that note of appreciation, the teleport circle activates and Charity heads back to Brill Bar, leaving the Seekers to explore Wildeglen and wonder what happened to this city. What happened to the people that were supposed to be here? The characters take the time to wander through the city and investigate what's happened, and are walking themselves through this thick fog that seems ever present, and noting the sorry state that the city is still in. The druidic styled houses and the stone obelisks not well taken care of, and nature had kind of reclaimed some of it still. And making their way to the city center, where there had once been a beautiful garden, the party comes to realize that something might be wrong with the fog, as they discover skeletons of people that had been here within the last couple of decades. And this ended up being one of my favorite moments from this session, but the party realizes just how bad it is when Drac tries to tremor sense the ground and doesn't even feel bugs in the dirt below, leaving the party with many questions. That being said, though, they realize that they should probably get out of the fog, so they begin to make their way south toward their final destination of the Lake of the Bog Beast. And supposedly it's here where the final druid enclave that they are searching for will be found. As the Seekers of Sicramund make their way out of the Wildeglen fog, Elwyn recalls a story that this whole situation kind of reminds her of. She remembers a story of a king and queen or rulers of some kind who had a child who was cursed after birth and became an imp. In order to free their child of this curse, they had to go to this village of devils and find the devil that had cursed their child and make it break the curse. When they did eventually find this devil, they convinced it to make them a potion. And this potion was meant not to be consumed by the child, but rather poured onto the land where they lived. The devil told them that this would cause the fiendish spirit that was inhabiting the child to be drawn out and instead stored within the ground. The land itself became a curse. And that story began to feel a little bit more relevant after Drac, who had taken a skull from the city of Wildeglen in order to try and find out what had happened, attempted a speak with dead spell, only to find that there was no soul to be able to communicate with, which led the party to hypothesize that whatever was in the fog was some sort of something that just diminished the soul until nothing was left but a husk, and leaving the people that were there to die. At this point, the party decided to change their course and figured it might be better to gather more information of what they were heading into rather than just jumping headlong into it. And as it so happened, Elwyn's original village before the desolation had actually been located only a few days west. And supposedly, the elves that had been heading to the Wildeglen might have set up a community located in the spot where her village had been. So with that new goal of gathering a little bit more intel, the party begins to make their way west instead. They've gotten out of the fog, the landscape is beautiful and wild and completely untapped. But on their way, the night before the party reaches Elwyn's childhood village, Azaria looks to the night sky and notices spots where stars had been. It seems that the prophecy is beginning, that stars are beginning to vanish from the sky, marking that the ritual that the druids need to perform is coming up soon. But it doesn't seem that that is all. One could barely miss it, but Azaria sees a small black dot at the very center of the moon. And that's where we called it an episode. So if you're intrigued about what's going on, you're going to want to join us for our next live stream on YouTube. We've got a back-to-back week coming up, so be sure to join us on Saturday, September 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and come hang out with us on YouTube while we deal with the ramifications of a dark prophecy coming too. And also be sure to join us on Discord and chat with us, and we love having you guys around. You can find all of our social media links up in the top right of the banner on our homepage, as well as in the description below if you're watching the video presently, which I guess you would be. And as always, stay happy, stay kind, and as always, play Dicely. Bye-bye!